Good morning and welcome to Advanced Composition again. Professor Kent Lee here. Today we are going to talk about argumentation. So, what is an argument? No, not that. That's not what we're talking about today. We're not talking about a verbal dispute, a conflict, a fight. We're talking about argument in the sense of persuasive writing or speaking. So in argument, the earlier kind of core meaning of argument is, well, a persuasive statement, a claim that you're making and that's backed up by reasons or evidence or support of some kind. So it's a claim that you're trying to persuade somebody about. So in terms of academic writing, we've talked about the structure of an essay in general. There is a thesis statement. So a thesis is your main idea in the form of a thesis statement, a sentence that contains that idea. It's usually in the intro paragraph, and that is the main idea or claim or goal of your paper, and the whole paper is based on that. So in order to do that, you then need to present the reader with some supporting arguments, major supporting arguments. And each supporting argument itself consists of subparts, as we'll talk about in a minute. So you might have 3 to 5 main arguments in an essay. It's going to be 3 to 5 paragraphs, if body paragraphs, if it's a shorter essay, or in a more advanced course. For example, it could be a much longer paper where you have 3 to 5 sections, body sections, each of which in turn consists of multiple paragraphs. So supporting argument number 1, for example, it's a claim. It is an important claim that supports the thesis. That supporting argument number 1 will tend to be in the form of a topic sentence, which is the main idea sentence in a body paragraph. So argument number 1 is going to be at least one body paragraph. In longer papers, it can be more than one paragraph. So you typically have 3 to 5 main arguments, main body paragraphs or main body sections in an essay. Why is it 3 to 5? Just like in a presentation, if you're giving a class presentation, you'll have your thesis, you'll have 3 to 5 main arguments in a presentation too, especially in a presentation. Why is it 3 to 5? That's about what human memory can hold in working memory. We can hold about 5 items in working memory, so 3 to 5 is kind of a good number for humans. If you're, assuming you're writing to humans, when you write an essay, you have in mind another human reader. If you're writing to robots or aliens, it might be different. But let's keep this serious. We're potentially writing to humans or talking to humans. Our brains handle about 3 to 5 main ideas so we can kind of hold in working memory. If it's just 1 or 2 main arguments, it's kind of too simple. There's not much meat or content there. More than 5, it's going to be kind of hard to follow. It's going to seem unorganized. You want to organize all of your thoughts into 3 to 5 main ideas, main arguments. Now each argument is going to be developed in at least one body paragraph. And an argument in turn, an argument is a claim. It's a claim that you're making to support the thesis. That main argument itself consists of kind of subclaims. Claims that support the argument. And each of those claims is probably going to need support or evidence in order to support it. And that includes explanations of why the claims support the argument. So the argument is kind of a main claim, and it in turn consists of several more specific claims that support the main claim. Or another way to look at it there are other ways to look at it that might make it easier to kind of understand in a minute. So, what kind of support or evidence do you have for each main supporting argument in an essay, and for each of the claims in that body paragraph? Depending on what you're talking about, it could be various details, facts, data, statistics, examples, explanation, proof, some kind of evidence, support, details that you need in order to persuade the reader, to convince the reader. Let's look at an example. Let's talk about an essay about whether it's a good idea to go to Mars. Would you like to hop on Elon Musk's spaceship and go to Mars whenever it's ready? Is that a good idea? Some people would. Go ahead, be brave. You'll go down in history as the first people to die on Mars. Go ahead. He's a visionary, but I'm going to have to say I disagree with him on that. Yeah, I think going to Mars is a great idea, but we need to really think it out more carefully first. So, I'm going to write an essay on this topic. Don't just say something too general like for a thesis. Going to Mars is a bad idea. Or, we shouldn't go to Mars. It's too general, too vague. Who's the we that we're talking about? Who, when, why? I mean, really, what's your point? You should have an intelligent, unique thesis to begin with. The thesis, the main idea. A better one would be something that is specific. It is kind of clear who we're talking about and what kind of time frame and why. So, going to Mars in the near future, and we're assuming potential colonists, adventurers in the intro. Going to Mars in the near future would be too dangerous to undertake. This would be too dangerous. Why? I get to some reasons, but first, my reasons are really going to cohere around one key idea that I want to explain first. A lot of the problems with Mars, a lot of the dangers, all ultimately have to do with the fact that Mars does not have a magnetosphere, or magnetosphere, the strong magnetic field. You don't realize this, but here on Earth we're safe because we have a strong magnetic field around the Earth, a magnetosphere. It protects us from radiation, solar radiation, and gamma radiation, and other kinds of radiation from space. Because of our magnetic field, we have an atmosphere. The magnetic field holds our atmosphere to Earth, and Mars, one reason Mars doesn't have much atmosphere at all is because it doesn't have a good magnetic field to hold it in. So it's the magnetosphere that is maybe a key factor in some of the main reasons I'm going to talk about in this essay. So my supporting arguments, my main points in the body of my essay are going to have to do with the radiation, lack of atmosphere in the water and soil and chemistry. And at least two of these, radiation and atmosphere, depend on the magnetosphere. So after my intro paragraph and thesis statement, I might have a background paragraph talking about differences between Mars and Earth, particularly in terms of the magnetosphere. Because then that sets up at least two, if not three, possibly three or more of my main arguments. So, let's look at supporting argument number one, radiation. So this supporting argument is itself is kind of a major claim. It's a main claim. And so let's look at this argument. The argument is, in at least one body paragraph, will be that Martian radiation is too deadly. So what are my specific claims to support this? My main argument here is Martian radiation, well, the main argument of this section. The main argument of the whole essay is my thesis, that going to Mars is too dangerous. My main argument is that the Martian radiation would be too deadly. I'm going to support this with several claims, several more specific claims, or kind of sub-arguments. One is, of course, the high radiation levels. There's gamma radiation from space, cosmic rays. There's solar radiation from the sun. It's in the form of ultraviolet radiation and other kinds of radiation. Now, you've heard of maybe UV, ultraviolet radiation, and UV A and B. If you're buying sunscreen, suntan lotion, you're looking at something that can block UV A and B, because our atmosphere doesn't filter out all of that stuff. There's a third kind, called UVC, which we don't worry about on Earth because our atmosphere blocks all of it, but on Mars there's no atmosphere to block it, so there's a lot of UVC radiation, ultraviolet C-type radiation. There is no adequate protection from this. There isn't really a good way right now that we know of to protect ourselves from the high radiation levels on Mars. We don't have the technology to do it. We don't have maybe any long-term ideas. Some people have talked about some short-term ways of dealing with the radiation, but I think you can make a good argument, a good case that it's not a good these are not good long-term solutions for living on Mars. Basically, you'd have to spend most of your time inside a cave. Who wants to go to another planet and just live inside a cave? Boring. And then the next claim is that these high radiation levels, because we have no protection, is going to cause cancer, it's going to cause genetic mutations, it's going to cause other serious illnesses and injuries, and it would be impossible to have children. You wouldn't want to have children if they're going to be born with defects. God knows you wouldn't want to do that. So this itself is kind of a killer argument. A good reason for why we shouldn't go yet to Mars is Martian radiation would be deadly, and we should, figure out some new technologies that can protect us from the radiation and before we go long term. Now, you can kind of restructure the set of claims and arguments like this. You could the main argument is that Martian radiation would be too deadly. You have these kind of claims or sub-arguments that support that argument. You could kind of restructure this and look at it in a different way. These different claims are premises. So premise is kind of one statement or claim that leads to another one. And then the conclusion is the core of your argument that Martian radiation would be too deadly. So you could structure it like this. You've got your premises. One premise is the high radiation levels. Another premise is the lack of protection, and how that's a problem. And the third premise is going to be the health causes, the health risks, that it would cause cancer, mutations, serious illnesses, death, and inability to have children on Mars. So conclusion, radiation levels would be too deadly, would poison and kill the colonists. So that's kind of the same thing as what we did before. It's just that we've kind of changed the order to show the logical structure. So this is more of the logical structure. The logic is like this. Premise 1, high radiation levels. Premise 2, no protection, no possible protection. Premise 3, the disastrous health effects. 3 premises. Conclusion, therefore radiation levels would be deadly, would poison and kill the colonists. It's really the same thing as what we did before, where you have the main claim first, and then you put the subclaims under it, or you call them premises, in like a logical syllogism, a logical structure, and go premise 1, premise 2, premise 3, then your conclusion. Same thing, it's just a different order. But the second way of looking at it helps us to see the logic more clearly, to look at the logic in the argumentation, the logical structure of the argument. There's a logical flow. In writing, you can kind of go both ways. So if you put this into a paragraph, into one body paragraph, you have a topic sentence. That's a sentence that represents the main idea of the paragraph, and it's a claim that supports, it's an argument that supports the thesis. You could start with the topic sentence in the first or second sentence of the paragraph. Radiation levels would be too deadly, such that it would poison and kill the colonists. Then your paragraph develops the particular kind of premises or claims to support this. The high radiation levels, lack of possible protection, and then cancer and mutations and other serious health effects. So you can structure a paragraph like that, or you can go the other way and just start talking about, because of the lack of a magnetosphere, radiation levels are high, gamma, solar, UVC, etc. There's no potential protection from this, at least long term especially, and then this would lead to cancer, mutations, other serious problems that would make colonists sick and kill them. Therefore, topic sentence, radiation levels would be too deadly, would poison and kill the colonists. So you can have your topic sentence at or near the beginning of a paragraph, and then develop the particular claims that support it. You can go the other way. And then the first way, you have your topic sentence first, and then you develop your particular claims to support it, the premises. That's probably easier for a writer, especially if you're not used to academic writing. But you can do it the other way. You can flip it around and present your premises. High radiation levels are dangerous. There's no possible protection. Will lead to cancer, genetic mutations, and serious risks to the health and lives of the colonists. Therefore, radiation levels would be deadly. Your topic sentence is at the end or near the end. So you can structure your paragraphs either way. But I'm just looking at it the second way so that we can see the logical structure. Premises, conclusion. This is like a classic logical syllogism, which you have probably learned about in another class. So for example, Socrates is a person, all people have brains, therefore Socrates has a brain. Kind of a silly example, but that's your classic logical syllogism. You maybe learned about in a logic course, in a philosophy course, and that's what we do in writing. We don't really think so much about the logical structure when we write, but when you're starting in academic writing in college, many times it helps to think about the logical structure and write an outline to develop the logical structure. So that's why I'm having you do that outlining assignment, the Google form that I assigned to you last time. We are going to talk about this more next time, the premises and then the conclusion, and we're going to look at another aspect, and next time I'll give you another kind of homework assignment based on that, what I have to say then, and I'll walk through maybe some other examples for the next lecture, and I'll give you another Google form assignment, which is also designed to help you to kind of flesh out, develop your ideas for your midterm essay before I give you the actual essay assignment. So again, go to the class website and look at the guidelines for the midterm essay. Again, I have not set a due date for it. I haven't assigned it yet. I want to have you do these Google Forms first. And yes, we're behind. Well, no, we're not behind. I planned it this way because, again, the semester started 2 weeks late, and I took over the class much, even at 2.5 weeks after that. But don't worry, because we have enough time to cover all the contents in the rest of the course. Don't worry, so we're not really behind, it's just that I am deliberately putting the midterm at a time like this so you can get your other midterms done and you can focus on my midterm essay. And actually in terms of the flow of the whole course, it's quite fine. So again, next time there will be another Google Form assignment, probably another 20-point assignment. This kind of involves some more work. For that, we're going to kind of look into more details about argumentation and some of the things you want to be careful about in writing. So until then, enjoy your homework, and I will see you on Friday. Goodbye.